Welcome, Curious Minds. Today we're diving into something that seems to be on a lot of people's minds lately, building a career that's, more than just the paycheck. We're talking work that gives you freedom, flexibility, and, well, real fulfillment. Our source material for this deep dive is the July 2025 Your Career, Your Future newsletter from the Career Experts Group.
Yeah, and they're a fantastic resource for this. The Career Experts Group, it's essentially a joint venture. You've got master career pros, personal branding strategists. Their whole mission is about guiding people, really empowering individuals wherever they are in their career journey, starting out, making a change, leveling up. And it's not just the newsletter. They have a really comprehensive website, loads of guides, videos, and they even do outplacement services for companies. It's quite a complete package.
That kind of holistic support sounds, frankly, essential these days, with how much the job market keeps changing. So our specific mission today is to unpack a key theme from their July newsletter, the freedom mindset, thinking beyond traditional career paths. We're aiming to pull out some practical insights, inspiring stories, strategies you can actually use. Okay, let's break this down. So when we talk about stepping off the corporate treadmill, it's more than just a nice phrase, isn't it? It feels like it's about consciously designing your career, building it on freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, not just falling into something, a deliberate choice.
Exactly. It's intentional. And the newsletter, it highlights 4 key designer career paths that really show this shift. First up, you have portfolio careers. Now, these aren't about one single job. It's more like having multiple income streams running at once. Think consulting, project work, maybe coaching, even creative stuff on the side. Professionals basically curate these different roles. They pick things that match their skills, their lifestyle. It makes their careers really dynamic, resilient, and, deeply fulfilling. It's not just about the money. It's aligning what you do every day with what you actually value. Finding that purpose, that's something a single rigid job often struggles to provide.
Right. So you're building something that reflects your inner compass, not just ticking boxes on a job description. That sounds like where the real fulfillment comes in. Okay, what else is part of this new landscape?
Next is gig work. This means short-term, project-based jobs. You often find these through various online platforms. And it's really important to stress today's gig work isn't just, delivering food or driving. It now includes things like digital marketing, product design, even high-level business consulting. And look, this isn't some tiny niche thing. McKinsey found that 36% of U.S. workers are doing gig-based work now. That's significant.
36%. Wow, that's a huge chunk of the workforce.
Yeah.
That's really changed how people make a living. And then freelancing. It's been around a while, but it feels like it's booming again, right?
Yes, freelancing, definitely. These are your independent professionals. They work contract by contract, set their own schedules, their own rates. You see them a lot in creative fields, tech, coaching, those sorts of areas. And the growth is, well, it's substantial. Forbes actually projects that by 2027, the majority of the workforce is expected to be freelance. The lines between pure gig work and freelancing can get a bit blurry, sure, but freelancers often handle longer projects, maybe ongoing retainers. They build more established client relationships.
That Forbes projection is, eye-opening. Yeah. Okay, and the last one you mentioned was fractional work. This might be less familiar. How does that fit?
Right, fractional work. It's a really flexible model. Basically, experienced professionals take on part-time leadership roles or project-based leadership roles, but across multiple organizations. You often see it in fields like finance, HR, marketing, operations. High-level stuff. It lets these, seasoned experts share their knowledge without needing that full-time commitment at one place. It offers this great mix of impact and flexibility. Sounds perfect for someone maybe burned out on the corporate ladder, but who still wants to use that hard-earned expertise, almost like being a consultant, but maybe with more control over your client mix.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you if you're listening and maybe considering a shift? It really sounds like there are more routes than ever before to get control over your work, find that deeper purpose, and move beyond the old 9-to-5 structure. All right, so we've talked about these different paths, these non-traditional ways of working. They sound exciting. The big question is always, well, how do you actually do it? What are the tools? How do you engage?
Exactly. And that's where knowing the platforms becomes crucial. The newsletter breaks down 6 leading ones for part-time and freelance work. Each has its own niche, its own strengths. So first, there's Upwork. Probably one of the biggest, most versatile marketplaces out there. You find everything: writing, design, web dev, marketing, admin support. The list goes on. They use a sliding service fee. So the more you earn with one client, the smaller the percentage they take. That's pretty good for longer projects. Plus, they have built-in payment protection, which honestly is a huge relief for freelancers.
And Fiverr. That's another big name, but it feels different, doesn't it?
Yeah, Fiverr's model is based on gigs. Freelancers offer these predefined service packages. They kind of famously started with $5 gigs, but realistically, most professionals charge way more now. It's really effective for creatives, digital marketers, writers, especially for projects that need a quick turnaround. They do take a commission on each sale, though, so you absolutely need to factor that into your pricing.
Okay, so different models, different strengths. What about work that's more local, more hands-on, or something totally different, like, say, expert consultations?
Good question. For local stuff, you've got TaskRabbit. This connects people who need help with, everyday tasks, putting furniture together, home repairs, cleaning, local in-person things. The taskers set their own hourly rates, and those can vary quite a bit. TaskRabbit takes a service fee from the tasker's side. Then, at the other end of the scale for that really specialized knowledge, there's GLG, Gerson Lerman Group. This is a major expert network. They connect seasoned professionals, executives, consultants, doctors, scientists with businesses that need deep, specific insights. Getting in usually involves an invitation or an application, but it offers really flexible, high-value consulting gigs for that niche, top-tier advice.
It really does sound like there's a platform for almost everything, from assembling IKEA furniture to high-level strategic advice. What about platforms that maybe offer more traditional job benefits, but still within that flexible framework? Is that a thing?
It is. That leads us to Blue Crew. This one's pretty unique. It connects workers with hourly W-2 jobs. Think warehousing, retail, food service, but here's the key difference. Unlike most gig platforms where you're an independent contractor, Blue Crew actually hires workers as W-2 employees. So that means benefits like overtime pay, sick leave, workers' comp, even access to health insurance. Workers still pick their shifts through an app, so you get the flexibility, but with the security of being an employee. And then there's Thumbtack. This one connects local service pros, home services, creative work, specialized tasks with customers. The way it works is pros pay for leads using a credit system to quote on jobs. But, and this is huge, Thumbtack doesn't charge fees or commissions on what the pros actually earn from those jobs. That's a big deal financially. Okay, so choosing the right platform is one piece, but the newsletter also lays out some really critical strategies to succeed using freelance and gig platforms. First, optimize your profile. This is non-negotiable. Professional photos, detailed descriptions, really highlighting your specific skills, your past wins. Think of it like your online shop friend. Second, build your reputation systematically. You might need to start with smaller projects just to get those first positive reviews. Deliver amazing work, obviously. And don't be shy about politely asking for reviews if the platform allows it. Good reviews are like currency here. Third, diversify your platform presence. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Being on multiple platforms maximizes your chances and makes you less dependent on just one income stream. Fourth, set competitive yet profitable rates. Do your homework. Research what the market rates are for your skills. And don't forget to factor in those platform fees, taxes, your business expenses. And finally, fifth, treat gig work professionally. Sounds obvious, but it's crucial. Consistent communication, hitting deadlines, giving clear project updates. You're essentially running a mini business, even if it's just a few hours a week. Think of every project as a chance to really prove your value and build that brand.
Yeah, it's crystal clear. Strategic planning, professional follow-through, and just plain persistence. Those seem absolutely key to making these non-traditional paths work. It's not just a casual side thing. It's a deliberate career move.
Okay, so with these new ways of working where you might have multiple clients, different projects, self-marketing becomes, incredibly important, doesn't it? Let's dig into how you present yourself effectively in this more flexible landscape.
Absolutely. The newsletter brings up this great concept, the professional services bio. They call it a one-page branding statement. Its whole purpose is to clearly explain, who you are, what you do, who you help, and critically, why clients should choose you. It's like a printable handshake or your elevator pitch on paper. It's meant to show your personality, what makes you unique, not just be a dry list of facts like a resume. It should invite people in.
Right, so it needs personality, not just data. What are the key parts that make it effective? Well, it needs a strong header, obviously. Your name, contact details, website, maybe relevant social media links, and a headline that instantly tells people what you offer, your expertise. A professional headshot is also really recommended. It makes that immediate human connection. Then, the About You section. This is maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs summarizing your relevant background work history, education, training. But the emphasis here is on weaving in personal stories or insights that show your passion, what makes you tick. It's explicitly not just copying and pasting from your resume. It's your story. And finally, your services. This could be bullet points, maybe short descriptions outlining your key skills, who you typically work with, the specific services you offer, and crucially, this is where you include success stories or testimonials if you can. Show your impact, prove your value. And this bio idea, it ties directly into this broader concept the newsletter calls your brand, your rules. It stresses that personal branding today, especially if you have multiple interests, isn't about just picking one thing and hiding the rest. It's about finding your core essence, that underlying why and how behind everything you do, not just the what, right? They shared this great example of a client who was balancing integrated marketing work with a wellness business she was building. Once she reframed her whole brand around her central theme, which was helping people connect, whether that was through marketing or through mindfulness, suddenly her two pursuits didn't seem disjointed anymore. They complemented each other. It allowed her to tell this really cohesive, powerful story. It's about finding that common thread that turns your diverse interests into a real strength.
That's such a powerful way to think about it, finding that unifying thread. Okay, the newsletter also gives us 6 ways to successfully balance both worlds. First, define your core brand message. Nail down that unifying theme, your core values, the impact you want to make.
Second, tell a cohesive story. You need to frame those side ventures or different roles as natural extensions of your core strengths. They should feel like part of your overall professional story, not some random detour. Your whole career path becomes one connected narrative.
Third, be strategic about visibility. This is smart. You don't have to shout about everything from every rooftop. Maybe LinkedIn is for your main professional expertise, while Instagram or a personal blog showcases your creative side or your side business. It's about choosing the right channel for the right message.
Fourth, own your multifaceted identity. Confidence here is absolutely key. If you're clear and confident about wearing multiple hats, your audience, clients, employers, whoever will get it. Being multi-talented is a strength, not something to apologize for.
Fifth, create clear boundaries for time and energy. Oh, this one is huge, isn't it? Especially if you're juggling things. Managing a main job and a side gig or multiple freelance clients requires real structure to avoid burnout. You have to intentionally block out time for each thing and protect your core responsibilities. Without those boundaries, that freedom can just turn into feeling overwhelmed.
So true. And finally, number 6, evaluate and evolve your brand regularly. Don't just set it and forget it. Revisit your personal brand, say, every 6 to 12 months. Your interests change, your goals evolve. That side gig you started might actually become your main thing down the road. Like that marketing client, her wellness business eventually took off and she left her 9 to 5. Your brand needs to be a living thing that grows with you.
It's really fascinating how these strategies empower you to, well, confidently chase multiple passions. You can build a brand that feels authentic to your whole self and that can shift as you do. Okay, we've covered the how-to, the strategies, the branding, but behind every career change, every pivot, there's a human story. So next, let's get into the human side of things with some really incredible reinvention stories from the Career Experts Group. These stories, they just bring everything to life and show you what's possible.
Oh, they really do. They're quite powerful. Let's look at some takeaways. First, there's Denise Bittler. Her journey started with a side hustle, writing resumes, which she turned into her own business after realizing a corporate job just wasn't the right fit for her. Her key learnings. 1, the huge value of joining industry organizations to build expertise. I mean, she has 6 current certifications. That's serious dedication. 2, the importance of finding your professional tribe, real friends and mentors in your field. And her big oversight. Not tapping into the Small Business Administration, the SBA, earlier on for help with her business plan. So many entrepreneurs overlook those resources initially. It's easy to get caught up in the doing and forget the planning structure.
That's a great point about planning and seeking support. Okay, what about Jacqueline Piros? Her story sounds different.
Yeah, Jacqueline pivoted after 20 years in tech branding. She started coaching women, and it was actually sparked by volunteering work she was doing. What did it take? Well, she treated the pivot like launching a new business with a proper plan. She had to actively redefine what success meant to her outside of those corporate titles and metrics. She also sought out certifications to build credibility in her new coaching field. And critically, she just had this unwavering belief in the impact she could make. Then there's Laura Johnson. Her big shift came after a layoff, which actually led her to become an executive career strategist herself. She shared 3 really hard-won lessons from that experience. First, never assume your job is permanent. Always have a contingency plan. Second, don't waste energy on guilt or blaming yourself if a layoff happens. Usually it's a business decision, not about your worth. And third, The absolutely critical role of having the right community around you, mentors, coaches, professional allies when you're navigating change, that support network is just invaluable.
Wow, those are some deep lessons definitely learned the hard way. How about Elise Pipitone? Her path sounds like it took some turns.
It did. Elise went from journalism to social work and then into career coaching. What drove her was seeing the direct impact people were making in nonprofits, her lessons. First, your academic background shouldn't box you in. What you studied years ago doesn't have to dictate your entire career. Second, career paths are often messy, right? Lots of twists and turns, not usually a straight line. And third, always pay attention to the things that genuinely excite you or spark your interest. They might just be laying the groundwork for your next move. And finally, Jean Stoner. Her story is amazing. She reinvented herself after a 30-year HR career, then a layoff, then a 5-year break to care for family, and she started freelance consulting in her 60s. Her lessons are just so inspiring. 1. Reinvention is possible at any age. She re-entered the workforce at 58. 2. Volunteering is fantastic for building confidence, skills, and making connections, especially if you've been out of the workforce. 3. The power of a growth mindset. She earned 3 certifications during her transition. And 4. How professional communities can really fuel your momentum and stop you from feeling isolated during a big change.
It's incredible hearing those stories. You see these common threads, don't you? The sheer courage it takes to embrace change, the commitment to continuous learning, the absolute necessity of community, and finding purpose in places you might not expect. So what does this all mean for your own potential journey? It really suggests that, your next chapter might be closer than you think. Now, one of the most common questions people have, and the newsletters Ask the Experts section tackles this directly, is this: how do you actually get that freedom and flexibility everyone wants without completely sacrificing your financial security? It's the big balancing act, right?
It's the crucial question, definitely. And the newsletter gives some really practical pointers on this. First, define what freedom and flexibility actually mean to you. Get super clear. Is it about time, scheduling, location, creative control? What does your ideal work life really look like specifically? Second, understand your financial foundation. This is non-negotiable. You need an emergency fund aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses. You need to track your income and spending, maybe use budgeting tools. Know your minimum viable income, what you absolutely need to cover your basics. Keep business and personal finances separate. And understand your tax obligations, especially as a freelancer or a gig worker. You need that clear financial picture before you leap.
Right. Clarity on what you want and a solid financial base. That makes sense. What about finding the actual work environments that support this?
Okay, so third, explore remote or hybrid roles with flexible cultures. Look specifically for companies known for supporting remote teams, companies that focus on results, not just FaceTime in an office. There are websites like FlexJobs, We Work Remotely, Remote. Okay. They specialize in finding these kinds of roles. Fourth, build a freelance side hustle while you're still employed. This is a great strategy. It lets you test the waters, try out your skills in the gig economy, build a portfolio, see if there's demand before you make the full jump. Use platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, maybe TopTal if you're in tech. It's a fantastic, low-risk way to experiment and build confidence.
That's incredibly practical. You don't have to just jump off the deep end all at once.
Yeah, exactly. Test the waters first. Fifth, consider fractional or contract-based work. We talked about these earlier. They offer flexibility, project-based work, varied experience, and potentially quite stable income, but without that full-time single-employer commitment. And finally, the newsletter gives a clear warning. Watch out for specific risks. Things like undercharging for your freelance work that leads straight to burnout for little reward. Or taking on too many low-paying gigs just to feel busy that completely undermines the whole point of seeking flexibility. And not saving consistently. If you don't manage your finances well, that flexibility can feel more stressful than freeing. The bottom line from the newsletter really sums it up. Freedom and stability aren't mutually exclusive. With intentional planning, skills assessment, and financial discipline, you can build a career that honors both. It's about designing your whole life, really, not just your job description.
We've spent a good amount of time on the career strategy, the practical steps, the finances, but the core idea of this freedom mindset, it isn't just about your job title, is it? It's about designing a life that genuinely feels good, that nourishes you. And the newsletter touches on this so nicely by including these little holiday highlights. They show how simple joys can also be part of that freedom.
Exactly. It broadens the perspective. For instance, they mentioned National Picnic Month in July. And it's not just, about eating sandwiches outside. It represents intentionally making time for connection, for relaxation, for simple pleasures. Picnics have this long history, right? From medieval feasts to Victorian social events. Today, they symbolize connecting with people, slowing down. And think about it. A well-designed portfolio career or fractional role might actually give you the time and flexibility to enjoy moments like these, to step away from the screen, connect with nature, connect with people. It's like the lifestyle dividend you get from adopting this mindset. The newsletter even suggests fun twists, like progressive picnic tours, different spots for different courses, or midnight stargazing picnics, even indoor picnic experiences if the weather's bad. It shows the spirit is adaptable.
I love that indoor picnic idea, especially if you've been working really hard, heads down, building that new career path.
Yeah.
A little change of scenery even indoors. And then looking ahead to August 27th, there's National Just Because Day. What's the idea behind that one?
This one's just wonderful. It's whimsical, right? It encourages random acts of kindness, generosity, thoughtfulness, with absolutely no special occasion needed, no reason, just because. It challenges that tendency we sometimes have to wait for a birthday or a holiday, the right moment, to show appreciation or do something nice. It's all about spontaneous positivity. The newsletter suggests things like anonymous acts of service, maybe pay for the coffee for the person behind you in line, or leave an encouraging note somewhere, or memory lane messages, sending an unexpected text or email to someone from your past, just sharing a specific positive memory you have of them, or offering time gift certificates, like offering to babysit, run an errand, or even just lend a listening ear to someone who needs it. The whole point is to create these little ripples of kindness just because.
Yeah, connecting these seemingly small things, these holiday highlights, back to your life overall. It really drives home that embracing simple, spontaneous moments of joy is a huge part of living a richer, more balanced life. It truly embodies that freedom mindset well beyond just your work hours. It's about crafting a life that feels authentic and genuinely fulfilling. So today, we've really taken a deep dive into this freedom mindset. We looked at how you can intentionally design not just a career, but a life, more on your own terms. We explored new work models, portfolio careers, fractional work. We talked about how to strategically use those gig economy platforms. We touched on why building a strong personal brand is so vital now. And we heard those inspiring reinvention stories. Plus, we tackled that crucial balance between freedom and financial stability. And importantly, we remembered that this mindset isn't just about work. It extends to embracing life's simple, spontaneous joys too. Because real freedom is about how you live your whole life.
Absolutely. And it's worth remembering knowledge like this is most powerful when you don't just hear it, but you actually understand it and, more importantly, apply it. Thinking critically, considering these different perspectives like we have today, that's what really enriches your understanding and empowers you to make different choices. These ideas aren't just theories. They're really invitations to think differently, maybe act differently.
Exactly. So as you finish listening and go about your week, here's something to think about. What's one single small step you could take this week? Something inspired by our conversation today. Maybe it's towards redefining your professional path, or maybe it's just about adding a little more spontaneous joy to your everyday life. What will it be? And remember, if you're looking for more resources or support on this journey, the Career Experts Group is out there. Their mission is to guide and support people just like you, and their website has tons of resource guides and videos for you to explore further.